Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for this week's astro weather forecast and horoscopes. I'm Pix. This is for the week of Monday, July 4th through Sunday, July 10th. This week holds some major priority shifts, or two, due to Mercury and Mars changing signs within 20 minutes of each other on Monday night. I release this content for my Patron besties at the beginning of every week. So if you're interested in getting this information or horoscopes on time, you can check my link in the description to sign up and become a patron. First, I'm going to go into the general forecast, and then I'll jump into some rising sign horoscopes for the week. So you can check the timestamps in the description to go straight to your rising sign. On Monday, July 4th, the energy may be a bit on edge. Both Mercury and Mars will be at the 29th degree of their respective signs, which can indicate tension and pressure, unease, anxiety. It can feel a bit unsettled. Pressure is applied kind of like a bubble filling up that needs to be popped. It feels like it's about to pop. That's what the 29th degree feels like. So this could be some energy that we felt over the past weekend as well. Pressure building, even after that Mars-Pluto square that happened on Friday. But then on the evening of Monday, July 4th, or the early morning of Tuesday, July 5th, depending on where you're at, Mars enters Taurus, and 20 minutes later, Mercury enters Cancer. This tells us that there will be some big shifts for all of us, but especially for Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Scorpio, and Virgo risings. Details on where to specifically expect these shifts will be in the rising sign horoscopes in a little bit. So Mars entering Taurus will certainly be a cool down for most of us, except Taurus rising, who will probably be feeling the heat turned up a bit or the pressure applied a bit more. The hot, dry warrior planet of action, authenticity, and confrontation leaves its fiery and quick home of Aries and enters its slow, earthy sign of Taurus, its detriment. Essentially, a bag of dirt is dumped on a raging fire in somewhere in our lives. There are pros and cons to this dynamic. Maybe the fire was too hot, too destructive, too much, getting out of hand, to the point of no longer being productive. And this dose of earthly reality can be very necessary. But also, at the same time, no one really wants their flame snuffed out completely. So, pros and cons here. And when planets are in their detriment, it's not a bad thing. Detriment doesn't equal bad. But the planet is forced to operate very differently or outside of their comfort zone. So Mars likes to operate in a very confrontational and authentic, raw sort of way. And it can't really operate under those terms in Taurus. It needs to kind of be sneakier, prioritizing harmony and peace and ease over authenticity and rawness, focusing less on differences and more on similarities. Mars, and therefore the way we act, will need to slow down and be more deliberate, eyeing the long game here. The slow, tortoise in the hare, tortoise long game. Patience is needed. I'm not going to lie to you about that. You're going to need extra patience with this transit. So watch out for passive aggression and manipulation under Mars in Taurus. Mars is much more patient here, but it also holds things in. It holds in its feelings. It's holding in its truth in order to keep the peace. So very slow to anger, but once it gets to that certain point, there is explosions. So keep that in mind with all of this patience. There is patience and there is the importance of peace, but don't let it destroy you internally, right? Okay, Mercury entering Cancer 20 minutes later is another slowdown aspect. Mercury was in its home sign of Gemini, like Mars, was in its home side of Aries, able to operate as quickly, efficiently, logically as it can. But this changes a bit when Mercury enters the watery shores of Cancer. Mercury in Cancer pushes us to connect to and to communicate our feelings. It heightens intuition and thins the veil. It makes our sensitivities get a lot stronger. Psychic connections and communications are a lot more noticeable. Focus or discussions can shift to what would normally be private matters, or things that you usually keep to yourself or just with your inner circle or intimate circle. Topics around family, home, ancestry, mothers, babies could all be very prominent. Discussions around these topics, just these themes coming up a lot more with Mercury in Cancer. Since both Mercury and Mars change signs within 20 minutes apart, 20 minutes of each other, they end up making an exact sextile with one another, which makes sense since both are themes of slowing down and being more deliberate. Mars and Mercury work together here, initiating some sort of cohesion. So working together to unify something or working together in solidarity. You do this, so I will do that. Some sort of compromise happening with this sextile. So that's Monday night, Tuesday morning. And midday on Tuesday, July 5th, the moon enters Libra. So happy lunar return to my fellow Libra moons. Libra moon energy tends to lighten the mood, ushering in some socialization or pleasure or joy. It's a good time for any people-y activities or social activities that you need to do, chatting on the phone, doing any meetings or presentations, get-togethers. The perfect Libra moon example is like going out to eat, going out to a restaurant with your friends, but talking and laughing a lot more than eating. Air moons are not the best at eating, but they're good at talking. So working on feeling good, decorating things, beautifying your space, that's also a Libra moon thing. Making things peaceful and harmonistic and joyful. And then on Wednesday, July 6th, Venus in Gemini sextiles Chiron at 16 degrees Aries. And this is another page in the Chiron in Aries at 16 degrees Aries story. The tale of trying to heal our triggers by giving us ego checks. Goody gumdrops. So the last few times Chiron was contacted, I'm going to give you a few dates here, includes when the Sun in Gemini sextiled Chiron on June 6th, when Mars conjoined Chiron on June 14th, and when the Sun sextiled Chiron on June 27th. So if you think or look back to those days in your agenda or your journal, you can get an idea of what sort of topics are going to come up for you. This chapter will be a little bit sweeter as Venus sweetens things up and lightens things up for us. Much of it has to do with finding ways to integrate autonomy and authenticity into our relationships. Working towards some sort of homeostasis. It feels better, but there could be something stirring in the background that needs to be resolved with this story. The cardinal rising signs, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, as well as the mutable signs, rising signs, that's Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, will be noticing this Chiron tale, this Chiron chapter or page the most. On the evening of Thursday, July 7th, the moon enters Scorpio and the mood shifts to a more private one. I don't want to call the Scorpio moon a wet blanket necessarily, but it might be for some people. Private time, alone time, or time spent with your intimate or inner circle may be the standard, as well as opportunities to get in touch with your deepest feelings. And happy lunar return to Scorpio moons as well. Having deep conversations, Scorpio moon's favorite thing, watching intense movies or shows, connecting deeply and intimately is Scorpio moon's MO. Wanting some quiet time alone is also very possible. To represent one side of Scorpio, alone time. To represent the other side of Scorpio, letting your raw animal Marsy side out, being a bit wild and uncontrollable. Again, the other side of Scorpio. And then Friday, July 8th, we have a crescendo of squares to expect, which means we also have a crescendo of needing to make decisions or choices. Firstly, the Sun in Cancer squares Chiron, again, Chiron, at 16 degrees Aries. And so we may already be feeling a little bit of an ego bruise somewhere in our lives by now. So a light is shining on an aspect of this wound or trigger or ego bruise, and a choice needs to be made. Yet another page turned with the Chiron story, mentioned on Wednesday. In the evening, Mercury in Cancer squares Jupiter at 8 degrees Aries. So there may be some more activity going on around communication and the sharing of information and ideas. Hot goss energy. Just kidding, but seriously. Heartfelt, passionate, or boisterous discussions and negotiations are likely, along with the subjects of ethics and travel and cars and airplanes. Again, this is a square, so this indicates there's some sort of tension between a rock and a hard place, and a decision needs to be made. And don't forget, not deciding is still deciding. Then we get a little bit of a break on Saturday, and then in the early morning of Sunday, July 10th, the moon enters Sag. Happy lunar return to Sag moons, which can certainly lighten the mood a bit. Sag moons are helpful in helping us zoom out, see the big picture, not get caught up in the details, and think less about them and have a little bit more faith. It's also the most adventurous of the moons, so it could push you to go on an adventure or a journey, maybe spending time outside, working in your garden, going for walks, going for hikes, going to the river, to the lake, just going on some sort of adventure. And if the weather or your body doesn't allow for this, it's a great time to go on a mental adventure. It's a great time to tell stories, to listen to stories, read books, watch movies, going on that mental adventure that can teach you more things and expand your mind. That's all Sag energy. At the same time on Sunday, the Sun in Cancer sextiles Uranus at 18 degrees Taurus, which gives us some solution-oriented energy, but in a very unique or non-traditional, unconventional way. It's a good sign to me that the Sun has been building up all week to this sextile, because it tells us that the solution-oriented energy of this transit will be accessible in the background throughout the week. So this energy is non-traditional, unique, and progressive. Solution-oriented. Maybe the solutions would be the type of solution that old-fashioned people wouldn't really understand right away, but if they attempted to understand it, it would expand their mind and their consciousness. Uranus brings the expansion of consciousness, autonomy, independence, and progression. It's like Albert Einstein, like really smart energy. Some people like to call it the higher octave of Mercury. Not sure how I feel about that, but gives you some idea. It's very intelligent. So we have this available to us in the background of all these other transits this week. So that's what's up for this week. Thank you for tuning in. And are you expecting anything to come up this week relevant to these transits? Let me know in the comments. You can also join the 9th House Discord if you want to chat astrology or divination with me or hella other cool people. The link is in the description. I'm endlessly thankful for you being here. Stick around. The forecast is covered. Let's jump into the mini rising sign horoscopes. The timestamps for your sign is in the description. All right, let's start with Aries rising. Your vitality may take a hit this week, Aries rising. Expect to be busier at home, with your home life, with your family, with your property, family matters, foundational matters, maybe taking up a bit more of your time. More communicating, more traveling, more bustle. At the same time, there may be more focus on resources, on financial matters, a money situation, material items, and food. So it makes sense that your vitality may take a hit. Take it easy. Don't push yourself too hard this week. It'll be busy. And let's move on to Taurus rising. Taurus rising. More energy may be available to you with Mars moving into your first house, but you aren't allowed to expel it in your normal ways because Mars can't be Mars when it's in Taurus. So this can cause impatience and frustrations, except that things will need to move at a glacial pace this month with Mars in Taurus. When Mercury enters Cancer, spending time with siblings or extended family, talking on the phone a lot, reading, and overall using your mental side will be where you find your joy, especially since the physical side is restrained in a certain way. This week, opportunities to communicate with your spirit guides will be much more available, so make sure you're pulling cards and staying connected. And let's move on to Gemini rising. Gemini rising, commerce will be a big theme this week. Commerce and correspondence. Busyness with financial matters or material items is definitely prominent. Meanwhile, you may be having an interaction with somebody that isn't that great for your energy, so be sure to stay protective of your energy. And that's what I have for Gemini this week. Let's move on to Cancer rising. This week is a very busy time for Cancer rising. Lots of communicating, lots of expressing yourself to your friends, your family, and whomever you contact. This week is a great time to get your point across the way you want to come across. At the same time, there could be some sort of strife or confrontation happening with a friend or with a group or a colleague or a network, which asks you to stay nice when you really don't want to be. My advice is to play the long game here this week. And that's what I have for Cancer rising. Okay, Leo rising. Some sort of strife or confrontation or challenge or issue that has been coming up in your life may ask you to retreat a little bit, spend time alone, process what has been going on for you. Chatting with friends, chatting with a therapist, long distance chats, FaceTiming, Zooming are all possibilities, along with traveling and going on solo adventures. There are many opportunities to connect back with yourself and your spirit this week. So keep that in mind. Take it easy, enjoy alone time, process what's been going on. And we're moving on to Virgo rising. Virgo rising this week ushers in a lot of friend, colleague, group activity. A very social time for you, ideally with people who help you feel at home and secure and safe, not hanging out with people you don't like. Meanwhile, there could be some sort of confrontation or decision regarding ethics in some way, morals, or a law case or schooling, some sort of higher mind confrontation. If you're traveling this week, it may require a bit more patience than usual, so keep that in mind. And I'll move on to Libra rising. This week is going to be super busy for Libra rising. Lots of contacts, lots of conversations happening at work, with your praxis, whatever it is that you are known for doing. Lots of business to be done. Meanwhile, there may be some sort of strife or confrontation regarding shared resources that you have this week. Or if you have a partner, there could be some sort of strife or confrontation happening in their life. Be patient. Keep your tools available to you, journaling, meditating, whatever it is you need, whatever it is that helps you through all of this busyness. So be patient, play the long game. Scorpio rising. The mood will lighten in some ways for Scorpio risings. The mind and the consciousness is opened up a little bit more. This is the beginning of a series of weeks where traveling may be very beneficial, productive, or go very smoothly for you. Some sort of detailed Detailed work might be necessary with schooling if you're involved with schooling, or a law case if you're involved with that. Meanwhile, there could be some sort of strife or separation or confrontation in your relationship, or with any one-on-one time. If you're not in a relationship, you could come across a confrontational person, or maybe just athletic people, Marsy warrior type people. Scorpio is known for having patience, so now is the time to harness that this week. And we'll move on to Sag rising. Sag rising. This week, your vitality may take a hit, and you may feel extra tired with a lot of things on your to-do list. Or maybe you have a lot of energy, but your to-do list is not normal. Pets may have extra energy this week or require more attention. There may be conversations around money or shared things, shared resources, or you could be feeling a bit more anxious than usual. This is a very beneficial and productive time to use any mental health tools you have at your disposal, meditating, yoga, walks, therapy, and try to harness more patience this week. We know Sages aren't the most patient, but I know you can harness it. And we'll move on to Cap rising. Capricorn rising. Lots of one-on-one communication is available to you this week, with the Mercury ingress especially. Maybe you engage in a lot of correspondence, maybe with clients, maybe with a sibling or a bestie or a partner. Focus could also shift to your inner child this week, although the shift could have been a bit jarring. Joy, pleasure, play, creativity are all highlighted, along with projects and your dating life. Have more patience for these topics and these pursuits. Enjoy the long game. Mars in your house of creativity is slow and steady wins the race. So be patient this week. And we'll move on to Aqua rising. Aquarius rising. Your to-do list is probably stacked to the brim this week with lots to do. Pets may have extra energy or require more attention. Some sort of change or challenge may occur at home or with property this week. A home project could begin that requires some hard work, or a confrontation with a family member is possible. Some sort of confrontation with your foundation. Surrendering to having patience is the best course of action this week for you. Staying in it and playing for the long game. Playing the long game. And we'll move on to Pisces rising. Focus shifts to your inner child this week, although maybe the shift could have been somewhat jarring. Joy, pleasure, play are all highlighted, along with your creativity, your projects, and your dating life. A confrontation or just extra time spent with siblings or a family member could happen. Lots of energy around corresponding, talking on the phone, reading, bills, contracts, overall using your mental side more than usual, maybe driving to and fro, having a lot of errands. This is a very beneficial time to use any mental health tools you have at your disposal. So meditating, yoga, walks, talking to a therapist. All of that could be very helpful this week. So try to have more patience this week, along with everybody else. So that's what's up for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Again, are you expecting anything to come up this week? Let me know in the comments. If you want vibe support, sign up. If you want support or just want to chat with other people about astrology and divination, don't forget you can join the 9th House Discord server, chat with me, other cool people. And if you want these horoscopes on time, sign up for my Patreon. That's what I have this week. Thank you so much. I will see you next time.